All right, here we go. Once again, we have former Hells Angels president, George Christie. Welcome back to VladTV.
I appreciate the additional invite, and here I am. And good to see you and meet you.
Yeah. Our last interview did some pretty big numbers.
Did you?
Yeah. Absolutely. I see, you did a bunch of different podcasts after that.
Right, I did, actually. I think yours was very successful. Interviewer was good. And then I did something with Michael Franchise, who I was
regular on my show,
who I was a prisoner with.
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Yeah, 1986. We were on Terminal Island together. It's when he'd done that big gas heist.
Right.
they were not happy with him.
Right. Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I actually watched that interview earlier today. So, how similar is the Hells Angels to the Italian Mafia?
Well, the Italian Mafia is one organization, and so are the Hells Angels. I think the biggest difference is there's no commission, if you will, in the Hells Angels. There's a commission in the Mafia, and I think that's how they intertwine them all together. And I think that's why RICO works for the government in what you call traditional organized crime. They tried that in 79, 80 with us, and you had 2 mistrials, and then Mueller, we all know Mueller, he ultimately said, we're not going to retry this. It just wasn't working. And they came at us initially one at a time, which was traditionally always worked for law enforcement against Hells Angels. But they tried to combine us all together. It didn't work well for them. The next big operation was Operation Rough Rider, where they targeted the East Coast, but came across into the West Coast as well. No success out here. They got a lot of East Coast guys, and that's what they got Chuck on that, Zito.
Chuck Zito, yeah.
Yeah.
I interviewed him recently.
I know you did.
Right. So, in the Hells Angels, you have the president of all the chapters, which was Sonny Barger for a long time.
See, that's really not correct. He was a de facto leader.
Okay.
Like many times when Sonny was in prison, even when he was on the street, when he was recovering from his cancer surgery and whatnot, I would be put in charge of something. And what happens is you wind up becoming a de facto leader because people look at you for leadership and guidance. They go, well, this guy's running the meeting. He must be the leader. And in that sense, you do become a leader, but you're not traditionally voted on. The Outlaws, they have an international leader. The Banditos, these are other motorcycle clubs.
Yeah.
They have an international leader. The Mongols, they have an international leader. But they've also all successfully been targeted for racketeering, the RICO charges. So we've got right now Jeff Pike, leader of the Banditos at one time. He's doing life for RICO. You've had Taco Bowman. He died in prison in 2019. I don't know who's in charge of the Mongols right now, but I know that they've had a lot of legal issues. They even lost their intellectual property to the government, and then somehow they got it back. I think a judge ruled it just wasn't going to fly, and they received their intellectual property control back.
Well, but you have chapter presidents.
You do have chapter
which you
presidents.
were one at one point.
And there I was for 35 years.
So isn't that the same thing? Can't they just hit you with a RICO
well,
if you're
for
a
some
chapter
reason,
president?
They don't seem to think it's successful, and historically, it hasn't been successful. I think they've done a few RICOs here and there, but they always seem to unravel. But I think the last RICO, I think Diamond Danny was involved in a RICO. He's a longtime Hells Angel. Most of his tenure while I was in the club, he was in prison. He was always getting pulled up for something. I think he went down in the southern states, tried to create a stronghold down there, and he's since passed. I don't know what he died from, but he had federal charges. Were they actually racketeering charges? I don't know for a fact.
Well, haven't they referred to the Hells Angels as the Mafia on wheels?
Well, that's a good soundbite.
Yeah.
It's a great soundbite.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think you got these, the these politicians and these prosecutors are all, career driven, and I think the Hells Angels makes good copy for them. I think in 1948, the San Francisco Chronicle went up to Hollister. They heard there was an event up there. It could get wild. It did get a little bit wild. I think they staged a lot of the stuff, a lot of the pictures and whatnot. But they put it out over the AP. All these different newspaper outlets picked it up, and they saw, hey, this wild biker deal sells papers. And, you had the booze fighters up there, the 13 Rebels, the Pooh Bobs, pissed off bastards, and who later branched off into the Hells Angels. But makes for good press. It builds careers. Look at Lynch in, Attorney General Lynch, 1965. He said, let's target the Hells Angels. And that's what may have prompted Hunter Thompson to have an interest in the Hells Angels. I really don't know. I've been on a TV show with Hunter. I don't think anybody gets to know Hunter Thompson well.
Well, didn't the Hells Angels beat up Hunter Thompson
They
really
did.
badly?
Junkie George beat him up at Bass Lake. He interfered in a domestic dispute between Junkie George and his wife. George and him had words. He hit, remember this from the book, he hit, Junkie George slapped his wife, or perhaps hit her. The dog attacked George, and he kicked the dog, and Hunter Thompson made a comment, only punks kick dogs and hit women. And Junkie George beat him up. I think that, Hunter Thompson's a smart guy, was a smart guy, excellent writer. I don't think he had an ending for that book. So what does he do? He comes up with an ending. He insults Hell's Angel at the annual run at Bass Lake, gets his ass kicked, and what does he do? He shifts his support. You know what? The masses are right. These guys are animals, and that's how the book ends.
How badly did he get beat up?
Not that bad.
That bad.
He appeared on a television show with Skip from Oakland. I think Skip might have been an officer at the time. He may have been treasurer, secretary, sergeant at arms or something. But he appeared on a show, Hunter Thompson and Skip. You can find it on YouTube. Skip's riding around Hunter Thompson. He's on the stage. And what's really odd is the MC guy makes a comment about Junkie George beating up his wife, and the audience applauds, I mean, it's on there. It's pretty interesting little piece of history.